Miss Marybeth here. I want to welcome you to learn about the magical changes that high and low tide bring to the shoreline, and then see some of the amazing sailors that you can find right here on Long Island beaches. But let's get started with our book, The Seaside Switch by Kathleen Kudlinski, and the illustrations, which are spectacular, by Lindy Burnett. And the book is read with permission of Northward Books for young readers. Look at that two-page spread. All you see is ocean and sky and sand. Makes me feel relaxed just looking at it. At low tide, when the beach is wide and the waves are far, sea creatures wait, dry and hungry. Come and watch, come and see, the Seaside Switch is beginning. Gulls flock and soar, chart and peck, staying dry above the waters. Listen. Waves crash and boom as the tide begins to rise, pulled by the moon and the sun. Clams wait in the sand with their shells shut tight until, curling, swirling, the tide rolls in. Then the clams stretch their necks up through the sand to sip seawater soup. Seaweeds wait in a dark, damp heap until, creeping, seeping, the tide rolls in. Then the weeds spread wide to soak up watery sunshine. Crabs scamper and scurry and poke and pinch, finding their food where they can. Feel it. Tidewater comes in cold as it rises, pulled by the moon and the sun. Isn't that beautiful? I just love this book. The pictures are gorgeous. Mussels hang on their fine silky threads until, crashing, splashing, the tide rolls in. Then hungry mussels open their shells to slurp the ocean stew. Barnacles wait, stuck tight to the rocks until, gushing, rushing, the tide rolls in. Then they open to kick their legs in the food-filled sea. Be wary of barnacles, they hurt. Fish dart and ribble and chase and flee, swimming free in the salty waves. Sniff. The ocean air smells clean when the tide rises, pulled by the moon and the sun. You ever watch? Look, he's got all the little fish rolling right around where he's standing. Snails hide in their shells in the shadows until, surging, submerging, the tide rolls in. Then the snails slither out, scouring food from the rocks. All the blues and the greens. Colors are gorgeous. Terns hover and fly and dive and fish as they dip in the sea for a bite. Taste. The rising tidewater tastes salty and sharp, pulled by the moon and the sun. At high tide, when the rocks are wet and the waves come near, creatures feast under the water. Come and watch, come and see. The seaside is switching again. The moon and the sun pull a different way now. The tide turns from coming to going. Subsiding, low tiding, the water slips away. Snails hide, fish flee, barnacles shut, mussels close, crabs scurry, seaweeds wilt, clams dig in, and the water keeps going away. Watch. On the way down, small creatures get caught in tide pools made by the rocks. They circle and chase and feed and wait for another high tide to set them free. At low tide, when the beach is wide and the waves are far, creatures wait, hungry once more. They know the tide will turn again. As long as there's a moon and a sun, the seaside tides will keep switching. I just want to point out, look, our story ended just where it began, right at low tide. And look, the boy standing in front of his view, which, let's go back to the very beginning. It's just how our story started. The same view, low tide, the sky, the sea, and sand. Well, now that our book is about tides, but how do you know when it's going to be high tide or low tide? Well, you can use a tide chart. Now, you can get a tide chart at an official fishing tackle store in your area, or you can go online and print out a tide chart. And you can find the tide chart that you want by putting in the body of water or the name of the city on the water that you want to find out where the tides are. Now, for our purposes, I printed out the tide chart from Patchog for the month of July. And let's look at our date, July 24th. You can see that on Friday, July 24th, high tide will be at 2:10 in the morning. Ooh, that's early. I won't be up for that. And it will begin high tide again at 2:46, 12 hours later in the afternoon. Low tide, my favorite time, the best for shelling, will be at 9:08 in the morning or 9:06 p.m. What's also cool about this tide chart is that it tells you when the moon rises on each day. Now on Friday, July 24th, the moon rises at 5:40 and sets at 8:16. And you can see the phases of the moon, which is a waning crescent. So the tide chart can tell you a lot of great things, and especially the best time to go shelling at the beach. Now, one thing I'm talking about tides, whoops, I need my paper. I shouldn't have dropped that. One of the reasons I'm talking about tides is that I love to collect shells. I don't know, every time I go to the beach, I have to look for shells. And I want to share with you some of the shells you can find right here on Long Island beaches that are just spectacular. And I'm just going to show you 10 of them. Now let's start with what's commonly called a moon shell, but the other common name that I like is a shark's eye, because I just think that's kind of cool. Its scientific name, which I know I'm going to get wrong, but I'm going to try it anyway, Neverita duplicata. And you can tell it's a shark's eye because it has a dark tip, a dark eye at the tip of its spire. So let's put that aside. Now the next thing we have is a shell whose common name comes from its appearance. They're called a slipper shell because they look like slippers. And its other name is an oyster pest because it clings to oysters. And its proper name is, I'll do my best, Crepidula fornicata. But you'll find these all over the beaches. So please take a look for these because they're super cool. I almost want to put my foot in them because they look like you can. Now, another shell that gets its appearance, because when both sides of the shell are intact, the pattern of the ridges and ribs make it look like angel wings. And its common name is false angel wing or American piddock. Its proper name, and I'm only telling you about the proper names because you probably won't remember them, but I think you should know that they have, even shells have proper names, just like living creatures, and anything in nature, they have a proper scientific name. Now the proper name of the false angel wing is Petrocalaria flatiformis. Don't ask me to spell it. And here's something you'll find a lot of. This is an Atlantic surf clam, or Spicula solidissima. They're the most commonly found shells, and they're easily recognizable because they're very big and they look like a big triangle. And yes, you can eat them. Seagulls eat them, and most of the canned clams, the clam meat you find in cans in the stores come from surf clams. Now another type of clam, it's called the northern quahog, or Mercenaria mercenaria. And in your local fish market, they're sold in different sizes under the names of little necks, top necks, or cherry stones, depending on the size. And these are quite delicious. Now, one of my favorites, because it's kind of hard to find intact, is called a stout taglia, or Taglius plebius. Yes, I need a cheat sheet to help me remember the names. I can't remember those. They're usually off-white in color, but I love these because you could really see the markings. And I just think out of all the other shell shapes, a rectangle is a kind of cool shape for a shell. So I love finding these. Now another shell that's hard to find intact is an Atlantic razor clam. It's also called an Atlantic jackknife. Its scientific name, Ensis lee. It's long and narrow, and as you can tell, has a kind of slight curve to the shell, and it's really cool to find both. It's really hard to find both pieces of a shell still attached together. I'm amazed that they hang together when they get washed around in the ocean and they wash up on your beach intact and together. That makes me go, ooh, when I find them. Let's see. Now here's the ones you probably recognize. These are called, they're bay scallops, properly called Argopecten irradians. And I think the irradians part is probably because of the striping down the shell. And they're always found in a beautiful array of colors, from ivory to red to brown to black, and just the striping on them is so beautiful. That's why I think everybody likes to have them for decoration. Now this is called an eastern oyster. Properly named is Crassostrea virginia. Now this mollusk, I learned, is very important to the environment because a single oyster over a course of 24 hours can filter 50 gallons of seawater. So it's very helpful in keeping the oceans clean. I didn't know that. I think that's pretty cool. Now, last but not least, is the common jingle shell, and they come in all different types of colors. I have them in oranges, but they could be orange or brown or silver, and they get their name because from the sound that they make. I don't know if you can hear that. You pick them up in hand and they jingle. Now, when I was little, my mother told me that these were called a mermaid's toenail. And for 40 years after that, I had no reason to doubt that name until, and this is a true story, one day when I was at the beach with I'm a grown mom, I'm a grown up and a mom, and I was at the beach with my friend and her children. And I found these shells and I told my friend that these were called mermaid's toenails. My friend paused, looked at me with a puzzled expression and said, "But Mary Beth, mermaids don't have feet." And I was speechless. So she was right. And for 40 years, I believe, because my mother told me they were called mermaid's toenails, I still call them mermaid's toenails. And to this day, my friend and I still laugh about that story when I didn't realize that mermaids don't have feet. So happy shelling. Thank you for listening and for joining us on our week of celebrating the oceans. Bye.